Sure. Welcome. Albert Camus, a contemporary moralist. Albert Camus was a French philosopher, writer, and journalist of the 20th century. Born into a working class Algerian colonial family in 1913, Camus grew up in a low income family. His father died in combat in World War I, and his mother was a partially deaf housemaid. It was in this proletarian setting that Camus forged a strength and nobility that would never leave him, bringing a new down to earth voice into the French scene. Camus was a commentator on the human scene, expressing himself day to day on the urgent questions of current life. Camus died in a car crash at the age of 46. Him and his publisher crashed into a tree in a Facile Vega. In Camus' pocket, he carried a train ticket to Paris, but at the last minute decided against using it. Today known as one of the most influential writers, Camus' fame mainly rests upon his novels, The Fall, The Plague, and The Stranger, the latter of which is arguably his most influential. Published in 1942, The Stranger tells the story of a young man, Marceau, who loses his mother, returns to his office, takes out a girl or two, and then lets off a gun and kills a man, then is tried and condemned to death. Camus writes the main character Marceau as the idea of an absurdist man. The theory of anomie takes prevalence, feeling disconnected with society and a lack of belonging. The main character, Marceau, can't accept the normal answers for why they are. He doesn't play the game, society immediately feels threatened, which leads to him being condemned to death. The opening line of The Stranger sets the scene for the story and is known to be one of the greatest opening sentences in literature. Mother died today, or maybe yesterday, I can't be sure. His next novel, The Fall, written in 1956, the title referring to a man who chooses not to save a woman who jumped from a bridge into freezing water. He hears a scream, but he continues walking. He informs no one. Camus begs the question, what if someone were to come up to you in a bar and were to tell you the truth about everything in their life, under the guise of it being sincere? Would it really be sincere? The man who chooses not to save the woman spends the rest of his book personally confessing to the reader, leaving the reader to figure out if he's insane and if he's being sincere about his own life. The final question of the book asks if any one of us would truly have the courage to jump into the freezing water to save the woman. In Camus' essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, he in a straightforward manner explains his philosophy. The opening line of the essay contains one of his most known ideas. There is only one really serious philosophical problem, the problem of suicide, to judge that life is worth or that is not worth. Considering if life is worth living or not and the means of suicide, serving as a way to acknowledge the absurd existence. Camus arguing once you consider suicide, you begin to live life more intensely. Realizing your life will go for 80 years rather than eternity, you begin to live in the moment, appreciating those around you. But Camus wasn't a nihilist or a pessimist who argued that life is pain and suffering. Posing on the cover of Vogue, he was handsome, never having less than 3 girlfriends on the go. He was an absurdist who lived life to his fullest. He was delightful in his reasons to live. He studied with moderation, devoting most of his time to the pleasures of existence, dancing, swimming, and his cat's cigarette. Camus never considered himself a philosopher, rather just an average man. Camus being more comparable to Humphrey Bogart, James Dean, and George Bataille, rather than his contemporary philosophers, the sickly Pascal or the poor Holden Nietzsche. Camus also played as a goalie for the University of Algeria. Camus was once asked by his friend Charles Ponce which he preferred, football or the theater. Camus is said to have replied, "Football," without hesitation. Another quote, "After many years in which the world has afforded me many experiences, what I know most surely in the long run about morality and obligations I owed to football." This quote sums up Camus' simple morality. Camus believed that the people of politics and religion try to confuse us with convoluted moral systems to make things appear more complicated than they really are. The simple morality of the football field appealed to him greatly. The principles of valuing courage and fair play and working towards a common goal with a team. His ideas and works have been hugely influential all over the world, shaping part of the modern spirit. Camus was a wonderful person and philosopher. someone who didn't consider himself wiser than others, someone who lived by their philosophies and lived life to the fullest. My bibliography, and my many image sources. Best wishes.